And if you'll flash forward one more, this is not just because we spend a lot, because in fact I've been focused on cutting the spending for quite some time, and we have done that pretty well. We have the lowest rate in Harris County in property tax rate. These are, I don't know, 8 other districts and their actual property tax rates, and if you'll click one more time, you'll see HISD. I'm not saying that my property taxes or yours are low enough. They are not. They're too high. In fact, we do a lot of work with the state legislature about the insane way that property taxes are how we fund education in this state. And not only that, with Robin Hood, all the increase in property taxes that you've paid, almost all of it over the past 6 years, has gone out of Houston. And that must really hurt. It's one thing to write the check, but that we didn't even get the money is extremely frustrating. Of course, they will argue, technically we did get the money. Then they took it out of the other pocket because they could see we didn't need it anymore since we had you all to help. So that's a very frustrating situation. If you'll go to the next slide, this is an interesting one. We spend $7,000 a student on all operating expenses combined, and it's tight. But if you look at what other folks spend in order to get their results, here's the median Houston private school, and we took. I won't go into the details of the calculation, but we took every private school in Houston and divided them, looked at the size of the schools in order to weight them, and you find that it's about $11,500. And if you'll click again, you'll see that, well, at the very end is the top Houston private schools spending about $20,000 a student, and then even some of the other major urban school districts are spending a whole lot more. So we're certainly not spending a lot by most, sort of normative or comparative measures, but we're getting a lot of bang for our buck. If you go forward again. Now the question, though, really is, given what we've seen so far and what we've achieved with your help, how are we going to get the next level of performance? Money alone is not the answer, but we do know that some of the things that work, like quality full K, pre-K, longer school days, weeks and years, which, by the way, that's one of the key reasons why KIPP is able to get the success that they got. And I say they, it used to be we, because I was on the KIPP board. I've still been on the KIPP board longer than I've been on this board. I was there for 6 years, and I've now made my 5th year, I think, on the Houston School Board. So in any case, I'm very familiar with what we did at KIPP to get where we did. And longer school days and years, more time on task works. It does cost more money, though. And I don't know when or if the state is going to be ready to step to the table, but they really should. And I hope that the Greater Houston Partnership can, in the long run, help us with that. It is not, by the way, about small schools. I mean, I'm sorry, but if you look at the results that we achieved had nothing to do with keeping schools small. In fact, during that time, virtually all the new schools we built, let's say at the elementary level, are for about 750 kids. And so no matter if you look on the quote wealthy side of town, like Briar Grove, where the school size is about 850, or you look at the Windsor Village, where it's something like 900, or Lyons, our best performing schools are about 750. You're able to do more with the resources that you have. You're able to offer more programs after school, better teachers, more access to specialists and so forth. So that works. I just want to be sure to mention that because there's a lot of noise out there on this issue, and a lot of it, there's a lot of passion involved with it, which is valid passion, but the numbers do not at all say that making our schools smaller is going to have any difference. And by the way, class size is another thing that everybody really passionately believes is a great way to get better performance. It is not, and there's a lot of really excellent information out there on that, and some good studies that have been made. But how can we get to the next level? Can we continue to do what we're doing now? Can we keep it up? And I think the answer is no. I think if we keep it up and keep doing what we've been doing and just get a little better at it, I don't think we're going to get to the next level. I think we'll continue the incremental gains, which is good, but I think we can do a lot better than that. And I think we can do a lot better than that by focusing on the priorities that the district has now. And we had these priorities set out for us, or we set them out at the beginning of last year, and we reiterated them this year at this year's board retreat, which is something that we do with the superintendent each January. And what we think is most important in order to take us to the next level is more of a focus on human resources so that we can be sure to be recruiting and retaining the very best teachers. Now, we've got a lot of that in place already with the performance pay system and the measurement and the ability to know what's adding value. But we haven't yet turned that data around and said, okay, now that we know which teachers are the best, can we find some patterns? Can we find out which teachers went to which school of education in order to use that as one of the ways that we judge whether schools of education are comparatively preparing teachers to do a good job more than others? Can we go do exit interviews and determine whether the teachers that we're losing are the ones that we kind of want to lose because they're really not doing well, or are they the best teachers we have that we're losing? So there are a lot more things that we can do with performance pay. And I want to tell you something that is important, and I think we're going to need your assistance on. We believe that since performance matters, and it does, and since performance is related to teacher quality, that we need to be able to consider the performance growth measures when we're appraising teachers. And to me, that's a very obvious thing. But currently we don't, and there's certainly a lot of scuffle going on about whether it's fair or legal or so forth to consider these test scores, and whether you give teachers raises, or if you let them stay. And we won't simply look at one number. I mean, we're not going to do that. But shouldn't it be a part of what we look at? And I see lots of nodding, and I think that's right. It does need to be. And so we need your support on that issue. If we can go over into the next slide, and one more click. So we talked about a little bit about human resources. I want to also tell you about human resources, a very exciting new thing that happened. Yesterday was the first day at work for our new head of human resources. And that person is someone that some of you may know, or certainly know of prior to that. Her name is Ann Best, and she was the executive director of Teach for America in Houston for, I can't remember, 6 years or 7 years, so quite a while. She is very, very good. I was on her board, and so I remember how good she was when I was at Teach for America board. She will be fantastic for human resources. We are going to make major changes in how we do human resources, major changes, so buckle your seatbelts on that. The next priority is leadership development. Now, this is kind of related to human resources, but here we're referring to principals, because principals operate our schools. They are the managers. We have 300 of these, and without good principals, just like in any business, you're not going to get the right teachers, and you're not going to maintain them, and you're not going to develop them properly, and you're not going to be willing to get rid of the ones that need to be gotten rid of. So you've got to have good principals, and we can go a ways further in this. We have a ways to go. The next priority, better communication. We were very much lacking in this. Last year there were a lot of problems, especially related to the bond, that could be a whole speech on its own about the mistakes that were made and what needs to improve. But clearly we need to get better at communication. The last is collaboration. We're talking about collaboration right here. We need to get back to a situation where we have a little bit more open and frequent, I think, discourse with the Greater Houston Partnership, because y'all have been such a strong part of the progress that we've made, and I think it's only with your continued collaboration are we going to get where we need to go. And the last slide, legislative priorities. You have seen these probably, and I've already talked about them a little bit, so it won't take long. I've already mentioned performance pay. The second, funding full-day pre-K. This is going to take some state money. Right now we're paying for it all locally, and it's very expensive, but it is extremely, extremely effective, and I think it's a good part of the success we've had. We have a long way to go to make that work even better. Extended day, month, and year, just mentioned that as well. That could be certainly a way that the state could have its funds pointed towards. They could, if they want to call something incentive pay, okay, I'll think of a good incentive. I'll give you an incentive to work extra hours in the afternoon so the kids can be in school longer. I'll give you an incentive to work on Saturdays or work during the summer. That's an incentive. And I think as long as the state legislature includes that in the word incentive, then maybe it can get funded. Finally, school finance. Again, a whole nother lunch speech, but our school system of finance in Texas is broken. It remains broken. It was merely patched a few years ago, and there is still an excessive reliance on recapture. Houston is now a recapture district. It is now a district that sends money back to the state. It was just a little bit this year, but actually it was only a little bit because of kind of a little piece of legislation in there that gave us the ability to keep some of the money. But we could have written a check for more than $100 million back to the state, which is crazy. When a school district like Houston and Dallas, by the way, and Austin are all considered wealthy school districts, and having to send money back to the state, when I've already showed you how much we spend compared to just about everybody else that's doing anything successful in education, there is something wrong with that structure. And the answer is not to make property taxpayers pay even more. And the thing is, we've got to have a school finance system that works.